The great hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched for nearly a mile in every direction. Its walls were made of living crystal that changed color with the mood of those inside. Right now, the crystals glowed a nervous orange. 47 species had sent their leaders here to the neutral world of Prime, and they had gathered to discuss a problem. The problem was called humanity. General sat in his chair and watched the other delegates argue. His body was covered in hard plates like armor that grew from his skin. Deep scars marked those plates, each one a memory of battle. He was old now, older than most of his kind ever lived to be. He had earned that age through violence and survival. The Empire had sent him here because he was their greatest warrior. He had fought in 12 major wars. He had led armies against the hive swarms of creatures that ate everything in their path. He had survived the crystalline wars, where enemies could shatter like glass or cut like diamonds. He had brought 3-star systems to their knees when they tried to break away from the Empire. No one in this room had seen more death than General. No one had caused more of it either. Ambassador of the Federation was speaking now. He was a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms that he waved around when he talked. His voice echoed through the chamber. "These humans are nothing special," said. "They have just discovered faster than light travel. They have one small colony beyond their home world. They are children taking their first steps. We should watch them, yes. We should be careful, yes. But we should not fear them." Many delegates nodded their heads, or whatever body parts they used to show agreement. General did not move. High Priestess of the Mystic Collective floated up from her seat. Her body was made of light and shadow, always shifting, never solid. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "The humans are spiritually young," she said. "Their souls burn bright but without direction. They fight among themselves. They damage their own world. They have not yet learned the peace that comes with wisdom. Perhaps we should guide them." Trade Minister of the Mercantile Union laughed. He was short and round, with skin that looked like leather. Gold rings hung from every part of his body that could hold them. "Guide them, I say we sell to them. New species are always hungry for goods. They will buy anything we offer. Their world is rich with resources they do not even know how to use properly. Let us make them customers before someone else does." The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to welcome humans as equals. Some wanted to contain them within their own star system. Some wanted to study them from far away. Some wanted to ignore them completely. Through all of this, General said nothing. He simply sat and watched and remembered things he wished he could forget. Finally, the chairman of the assembly turned to him. The chairman was an ancient being, so old that no one remembered what species he had started as. His body was more machine than flesh now, kept alive by technology from 100 different worlds. "General," the chairman said, "you have been silent all day. The assembly would like to hear your military assessment of the human species. Should we see them as a threat?" The chamber fell quiet. When General spoke, people listened. His words had weight because they came from experience, not theory. Slowly the old general rose from his seat. His joints ached. His scars pulled at his skin. But his eyes were sharp and his voice was steady. "You do not understand what you are dealing with," he said. Ambassador made a sound of disbelief. "Come now, General. They are soft creatures. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. Their bodies break easily. What is there to fear?" General looked at the ambassador with something close to pity. "I have fought the hive swarms. I have faced the crystal lords. I have broken the backs of rebel fleets. In all my years of war, in all my battles, I have never been truly afraid." He paused. "Until I met humans." The chamber was completely silent now. The crystals in the walls had turned a deep, worried blue. "I would like to tell you a story," General continued. "It is a story I have never shared with anyone outside my closest advisors. It happened 40 cycles ago, before any of you knew humans existed. What I saw changed everything I believed about war, about survival, about what it means to be a thinking creature. The chairman leaned forward. "The assembly grants you permission to speak, General. Tell us your story." General nodded slowly. His mind traveled back through the years, to a time when he was young and foolish and thought he understood war. 40 cycles ago, he began, I was a commander, not a general. I was hungry for glory and sure of my own strength. I led a small fleet through uncharted space, looking for new worlds to claim for the Empire. We found something that changed my life forever. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate who would look back. We found the wreckage of the most powerful invasion fleet the galaxy had ever seen, and we found out what had destroyed it. The crystals in the walls pulsed with a color no one had ever seen before. It was the color of fear. "The Dominion sent that fleet," General said. "You all remember the conquerors, slavers. They had crushed dozens of species under their boots. Their warships were the terror of 100 star systems." His voice dropped low. Every single ship in that fleet had been destroyed, every single one, by a species that had never even left their own planet before. He sat back down, suddenly feeling every year of his age. That species was humanity, and what I learned about them that day has haunted me ever since. Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and stared at the view screen. His second in command, a female named, stood beside him. Neither of them could believe what they were seeing. The space around them was filled with wreckage. Broken ships tumbled slowly through the void. Some were cracked open like eggs. Others had been burned so badly that only their frames remained. Debris floated everywhere, catching the light of a distant yellow star. "Run the identification scan again," ordered. "I have run it 3 times, Commander," replied. Her voice was shaking. "The results are the same. This is wreckage. These ships belong to the Dominion." Felt a chill run through his body. Everyone in the galaxy knew they were conquerors who showed no mercy. Their fleets had crushed entire civilizations. Their soldiers ate the flesh of their enemies. For thousands of years, they had spread across the stars like a disease, taking whatever they wanted and destroying anything that got in their way. And now their ships floated dead in space, torn apart by something that had beaten them completely. "How many ships?" asked quietly. "Our sensors count the remains of at least 40 warships, Commander, including 2 command carriers." Paused. This was a full invasion fleet. Closed his eyes for a moment. A full invasion fleet. They only sent such forces when they were absolutely certain of victory. They would have had thousands of soldiers, hundreds of weapons platforms, enough firepower to glass a planet 10 times over. All of it was now floating junk. "Commander, we are detecting life signs," another officer called out. "Escape pods, several dozen of them still broadcasting distress signals." "How long have they been drifting?" asked. "Based on their power levels and the decay of their signals, approximately 3 planetary rotations." 3 days. These survivors had been floating in space for 3 days, waiting for rescue that never came. Made his decision quickly. "Bring them aboard. I want to know what happened here." The rescue took several hours. His crew pulled 37 from their escape pods and brought them to the medical bay. Went down to see them himself, and what he found there shook him to his core. They were warriors. Their bodies were built for fighting. They had thick hides, sharp claws, and teeth made for tearing flesh. Had fought against them once many years ago, and he remembered how fierce they were, how fearless, how brutal. The creatures in his medical bay were broken. Some had lost limbs. Others had burns that covered their bodies. But the physical wounds were not the worst part. It was their eyes that disturbed the most. These hardened killers, these monsters who had never known defeat, looked absolutely terrified. He approached one of them, a warrior named who seemed more alert than the others, was missing his left arm and both legs. He lay on a medical bed, staring at the ceiling with empty eyes. "What happened to your fleet?" asked. Turned his head slowly. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "We found a small world circling a yellow star. Our scouts said it was primitive. The inhabitants had not even reached their own moon yet. Admiral decided we would take it." And pressed. "We landed our forces. We expected them to surrender. Every species surrenders when they see our ships in their sky. Every species begs for mercy when our soldiers march through their streets." Laughed, but there was no humor in it. They did not surrender. They fought back. They did more than fight back. They threw themselves at us with weapons we could have destroyed from orbit. They died by the thousands. We killed 10,000 of them on the first day alone. His voice cracked. And the next morning they attacked us again. Felt his throat go dry. "What do you mean?" "We bombed their cities. They retreated underground and kept fighting. We destroyed their armies. Their civilians picked up weapons and kept fighting. We cut off their supplies. They built new factories in caves and kept fighting." Grabs arm with his remaining hand. "Do you understand? They would not stop. No matter what we did to them, they would not stop." "How did they destroy your fleet?" asked. "You said they had primitive technology." "They learned. They took our weapons from our dead soldiers and figured out how to use them. They captured one of our ships and took it apart piece by piece. Within weeks, they were building their own versions of our technology. Within months, they were making it better." Started to shake. "They flew their new ship straight at us. Some of them crashed their vessels into ours on purpose. They did not care if they died as long as they took us with them." Pulled his arm free and stepped back. He had never heard anything like this. No species behaved this way. When you were beaten, you surrendered. When the enemy was too strong, you ran. That was how war worked. That was how survival worked. "What are these creatures called?" he asked. Closed his eyes. "They call themselves humans. And Commander, if you are wise, you will forget you ever found this place. Go back to your empire. Tell no one what you saw here. Because if those things ever reach the stars, no one in the galaxy will be safe." Stood in the medical bay for a long time after stopped talking. The warrior had fallen into an exhausted sleep, but his words echoed in his mind. He made a decision that his officers thought was insane. He would go to this world himself. He would see these humans with his own eyes. He needed to understand what kind of creature could break the unbreakable. He did not know that what he would see there would haunt him for the rest of his very long life. Commander took a small shuttle down to the planet. He brought only 2 guards with him. Their ship had cloaking technology that would hide them from any sensors the humans might have. He planned to observe, nothing more. He needed to see these creatures for himself. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of its surface. Green and brown land masses held forests and deserts and mountains. White clouds drifted across the sky. From space, it looked peaceful. It looked like paradise. But as they flew closer, saw the scars. Great black patches marked where cities had once stood. Craters dotted the landscape where weapons had struck. Rivers of glass showed where the invaders had used their heat beams. The humans had paid a terrible price for their resistance. What shocked was what he saw next. In the middle of all that destruction, the humans were rebuilding. Where bombs had flattened buildings, new structures were rising. Construction machines moved through the ruins, clearing debris and laying foundations. People walked through the streets, carrying tools and materials. They worked in groups, talking and sometimes even laughing. "How is this possible?" whispered. "The invasion ended less than 1 cycle ago. These people should still be hiding. They should be broken." "Land over there," pointed to a hill overlooking one of the larger settlements. "I want a closer look." They set down their shuttle and activated full camouflage. Then took out his viewing equipment and began to watch. The settlement below had maybe 50,000 humans in it. Most of the buildings were temporary, made from whatever materials the people could find. But at the center of the town, a large stone structure was under construction. It looked important, maybe a government building or a temple. Watched the humans for hours. He saw parents walking with their children. He saw old people sitting together and talking. He saw young ones running and playing games in the streets. These were not the actions of a defeated people. These were the actions of people who believed they had won. In one section of the town, he found something that made his blood run cold. Scientists in white coats were working on captured equipment. They had set up outdoor laboratories where they took apart alien weapons and studied every piece. Watched a young woman examine an energy cell with tools that looked like they had been made that same week. They are reverse engineering technology, said. Commander, they are 1,000 years more advanced than these people. It should take them centuries to understand this equipment. Look closer, replied. Adjusted her viewer. After a moment she made a sound of disbelief. They are not just copying it, they are modifying it, they are making improvements. Nodded slowly. The survivor told me. He said they learned faster than any species he had ever seen. I thought he was exaggerating. I was wrong. As evening fell, the humans gathered in a large open area near the stone building. Thousands of them came together, standing in rows facing a wooden platform, adjusted his equipment to pick up sound as well as sight. A woman climbed onto the platform. She was middle-aged with gray streaks in her dark hair. Her left arm was in a sling and a bandage covered part of her face. When she spoke, her voice carried across the crowd. My name is Price. 3 months ago I was a school teacher. Today I speak for what remains of our government. She looked out at the crowd. We have lost much. We have lost cities. We have lost loved ones. We have lost millions of our brothers and sisters to an enemy who thought we would break. The crowd was silent, could see tears on many faces. They came from the stars, continued. They came with weapons we could barely understand. They came thinking we would kneel. They came thinking we would beg. They came thinking we were weak because our bodies are soft and our lives are short. Her voice grew stronger. They were wrong. A sound rose from the crowd. It started low like a rumble of thunder and grew louder. The humans were not cheering. They were not crying. They were growling, a sound of pure determination that made scales tighten against his body. Humanity does not break, said. We bend, we bleed, we grieve, but we do not break. We have buried our dead and we will honor them by living. We have studied their weapons and we will use that knowledge to protect ourselves. And one day we will follow them to the stars. She raised her good arm toward the sky. They wanted us to fear the darkness between worlds. Instead, they have taught us to reach for it. They wanted us to cower on our little planet. Instead, they have given us a reason to leave it. We will build ships. We will cross the void. And when we find those who hurt us, we will show them what happens when you try to destroy humanity. The crowd erupted. 50,000 voices cried out together, not in fear but in defiance. The sound echoed off the ruins around them, off the broken buildings and the earth. It was the sound of a species that refused to die. Lowered his viewing equipment. His hands were shaking. Commander asked, "What are your orders?" Stood there for a long moment, looking down at the humans as they embraced each other, as they laughed and cried and swore oaths to the stars above. He saw children sitting on their parents' shoulders. He saw wounded veterans teaching young people how to use captured weapons. He saw scientists working late into the night, fueled by nothing but determination and a dark bitter drink they seemed to need constantly. We leave, he said finally. We go back to our ships, we return to the Empire, and we tell no one about this place. But Commander, this discovery could be valuable to the Empire. The Science Division would want to study these creatures. Turn to face her. I am going to file a classified report recommending that the Empire never, under any circumstances, make contact with this species. I will mark this star system as quarantined. I will bury the coordinates so deep that no one will ever find them. Why? Looked back at the human settlement one last time. Because those creatures down there broke with primitive weapons and raw will. In a few generations, they will have technology to match anyone in the galaxy. And when they do, I do not want the Empire to be remembered as the species that gave them a reason to use it against us. They returned to their ships and left the system that same night, kept his word. He buried the report so deep that it took 40 years for anyone to find it again. By then, it was too late. The humans had found the stars on their own. General paused in his story. The assembly chamber was completely silent. Every delegate was staring at him with expressions ranging from disbelief to horror. The crystals in the walls had turned a shade of gray that had never seen before. That was 40 cycles ago, he continued. I have spent every year since then studying humans from afar. I have read their history. I have analyzed their wars. I have watched them grow from a wounded species on a broken planet to a power that now reaches beyond their solar system. He looked around the chamber. And I am here to tell you exactly why you should be terrified of them. Ambassador shifted uncomfortably in his seat. General, with respect, I think you may be exaggerating. Every species fights for survival. Every species shows courage when threatened. What makes humans any different? A fair question, replied. Let me answer it clearly. It is not their strength that makes them dangerous. Many species are stronger. It is not their technology. Many species are more advanced. It is not their numbers. Many species have larger populations. He stepped closer to the central platform. It is their refusal to accept defeat. He began to pace slowly around the chamber, his old joints aching with every step. When the Federation fights a war and loses more than 30% of their forces, they surrender. It is logical. It is sensible. It saves lives. He nodded toward Ambassador. When the Empire suffers a crushing defeat, we retreat and regroup. We accept that we have lost the battle and try to win the next one. This is what rational beings do. Humans do not think this way. I have studied their history extensively. In one of their ancient wars, a group of 300 human soldiers faced an army of over 100,000. They knew they would die. They knew there was no hope of victory. Do you know what they did? Let the question hang in the air. They stood their ground and fought to the last man. They saw death coming and they chose to meet it with weapons in their hands. High Priestess floated forward. Surely that is foolishness, not strength. What good is courage if it leads to death? Those 300 soldiers delayed the enemy army long enough for the rest of their people to prepare a defense. Their sacrifice saved their civilization. Shook his head. But that is not the important part. The important part is that humans tell that story to their children with pride. They hold those dead soldiers up as heroes. They teach their young that dying for your people is the greatest honor one can achieve. He turned to face the whole assembly. Humans have a concept they call spite. It means they will hurt themselves to hurt their enemies. They will burn their own resources, sacrifice their own lives, destroy their own worlds rather than let an invader claim victory. During one of their global wars, when an enemy force captured one of their cities, the humans burned it to the ground themselves. They chose destruction over surrender. Trade Minister raised a pudgy hand. But surely this is not rational behavior. Rational beings protect their assets. Rational beings negotiate when they are losing. You are correct, said. It is not rational, it is not sane, but it is terrifyingly effective. Because when you fight an enemy who is willing to destroy everything they have rather than let you take it, how do you win? What do you threaten them with? They have already accepted the worst outcome. They have already chosen death. He walked to a display screen and activated it. Images appeared showing human soldiers throughout their history. Men and women in different uniforms carrying different weapons from different eras. But their faces all had the same expression: determination, defiance. Look at how they wage war. They develop something called unit cohesion. Their soldiers form bonds with each other that go beyond orders, beyond strategy, beyond survival instinct. When one of them falls, the others do not retreat as any logical being would. They fight harder. They become more dangerous. The death of their friends does not break them. It makes them angry. And there is something else, continued. Something I have never seen in any other species. Humans fight among themselves constantly. They have wars between their own nations, their own tribes, their own families. Most species would destroy themselves with such internal conflict. Humans use it to become stronger. Ambassador laughed nervously. You are saying their weakness is their strength. I am saying their internal wars are training grounds. Each conflict teaches them new tactics, new weapons, new ways to kill. They have concepts that no other species ever developed because no other species was willing to go that far. Total war, where every resource is dedicated to destruction. Guerrilla warfare, where small groups of fighters can bring down entire armies. Mutually assured destruction, where they built weapons so powerful that using them would destroy their own planet, just to make sure no one would dare attack them. The chamber was growing more and more uneasy. Several delegates were whispering to their aides. Others looked like they wanted to leave. I have not even told you the most frightening part, said quietly. Humans are pack hunters. They form bonds of loyalty that last for generations. If you hurt one of them, you hurt all of them. If you kill one of their children, every human who hears about it becomes your enemy. They have a saying, an eye for an eye. It means if you take something from them, they will take the same thing from you. But here is what they do not tell you. He leaned forward. They always take more. Ambassador stood up. General, I have listened to your story with interest, but I think you are letting old fears cloud your judgment. The Federation has dealt with aggressive species before. We have containment protocols. We have superior numbers. We have thousands of years of experience managing threats to galactic peace. Looked at the ambassador with an expression that might have been pity. You have contained species that knew when they were beaten. Humans do not have that instinct. Defeat only makes them more determined. Occupation only breeds resistance. Genocide only creates martyrs that inspire future generations. He shook his head slowly. I have studied their history. Every empire that tried to subjugate them eventually fell, and humans were usually the ones who pushed. He returned to his seat, suddenly feeling exhausted. You asked me if humans are a threat. I am telling you that they are the greatest threat this galaxy has ever faced, not because they are evil, not because they want to conquer us, but because if we give them a reason to fight, they will never stop. They will chase us across the stars. They will hunt us through generations. They will sacrifice everything they have to make us pay for whatever wrong we did to them. He closed his eyes. The Dominion learned this lesson. Now they are a broken people, scattered across refugee camps, begging for scraps from the same galaxy they once terrorized. They thought humans were weak because they were soft. They were wrong. Humans are soft on the outside. Inside, they are made of something harder than any armor I have ever seen. General opened his eyes and looked around the chamber one last time. So when you vote on how to receive humanity into the galactic community, remember my words. Treat them with respect. Treat them fairly. And whatever you do, do not give them a reason to remember your name. The assembly voted late into the night. General sat in his chair and watched the delegates argue among themselves. Some of them had listened to his warning. Most had not. Ambassador led the largest group. He believed that the Federation could handle anything. They had been managing galactic politics for thousands of years. One small species of soft-bodied creatures was nothing to worry about. His faction wanted to establish trade relations with the humans while quietly containing their expansion. Trade Minister saw only profit. The humans were new to space travel. They would need supplies, technology, raw materials. The Mercantile Union planned to make them dependent on alien goods before they could become self-sufficient. Control through commerce, he called it. High Priestess wanted to send missionaries. She believed the humans were spiritually lost and needed guidance. Her followers would show them the path to enlightenment, and in doing so, turn them into peaceful members of galactic society. Only a few delegates supported General's position of careful respect and non-interference. They were outvoted easily. When the final vote was tallied, the Assembly decided to welcome humanity with open arms while secretly working to limit their power. They would offer friendship with one hand and hold a knife behind their back with the other. It was standard galactic politics. It had worked on dozens of species before. General did not vote. He simply gathered his things and prepared to leave. At the chamber doors, a young aide caught up with him. The aide was barely old enough to have grown his adult plates. His name was, and he had been assigned to assist the general during the assembly. General said, hurrying to keep pace with the old warrior, "What do you think will happen now?" Stopped walking. He turned to look at the young aide, studying his eager face, his unmarked plates, his eyes that had never seen war. "They will not listen," said quietly. "They never do. Someone will try to manipulate the humans. Someone will try to cheat them or threaten them or push them into a corner. It might take a year. It might take 10 years, but it will happen. And then they will learn what I learned 40 cycles ago." Looked back at the assembly chamber, where delegates were still celebrating their clever plans. They will learn that humans are not to be feared because they are the strongest or the most advanced. They are to be feared because they are the most stubborn creatures in the universe. He started walking again and fell into step beside him. "Humans will endure anything," continued. "They will survive anything. They will outlast anything. They will take blow after blow after blow and keep standing. And here is the thing that no one in that chamber understands." He stopped at the exit and looked the young aide in the eyes. "When you think you have finally beaten them, when you think they are broken and finished and ready to give up, that is when they are most dangerous of all." Swallowed nervously. "What should I do, General? How do I prepare?" Smiled, a rare expression on his face. "If you ever meet a human, treat them with kindness. Be honest with them, keep your word. They value these things more than you can imagine. And if you are ever tempted to betray them, to harm them, to take something that belongs to them," he shook his head, "do not. Find another way. Because humans forgive many things, but they never forget. And they always, always repay their debts." General left the assembly that night and returned to his home world. He retired from military service 6 months later. He had given his warning. He had done everything he could. Now all he could do was wait and see if the galaxy would prove him right. It did not take long. 1 year after the assembly vote, a trading post tried to cheat a human colony. The details were simple and stupid. The merchants had been charging humans 3 times the normal price for basic supplies. When the humans discovered this, they demanded fair treatment. The governor refused. Things escalated. Someone made a threat. Someone else made it real. 3 human colonists died in the violence that followed. A father, a mother, and their young daughter. Their names were Samuel Drake, Maria Drake, and little Lucy Drake. They were buried on the colony world they had helped build, under a sky full of unfamiliar stars. The humans did not send a fleet. They did not issue an ultimatum. They did not demand negotiations. They sent a single message, broadcast on every frequency that could reach space. The message was short. It contained no threats, no demands, no terms of surrender. It simply said, "We remember, we are coming, and we do not forgive." Ambassador received the message in his office. He read it 3 times, and each time his blue skin grew a little paler. He had dealt with dozens of species. He had received countless threats, but something about those 12 words made his 4 hearts beat faster. He tried to contact General for advice, but the old warrior had already heard the news, was sitting in his retirement chambers on when the message reached him. He read it on his personal display, then looked out his window at the stars. "I warned them," he murmured to himself. "I warned them all." His aide, now a full officer named, stood beside him. "General, the Federation is mobilizing their fleet. They believe they can stop the humans before they reach the trading post." laughed softly. It was not a happy sound. The fleet is large and well-equipped. Their officers are experienced. Their soldiers are disciplined. He turned away from the window. It will not matter. Why not, General? Because they will fight to protect their interests. They will fight to defend their territory. They will fight because their leaders ordered them to fight. Sat down heavily in his chair. The humans will fight because 3 of their own were murdered. They will fight for Samuel and Maria and Lucy Drake. They will fight with the kind of fury that no amount of training can prepare you for. He closed his eyes and remembered that day on Earth, 40 years ago. He remembered Price standing before her people. He remembered the sound of 50,000 voices raised in defiance. He remembered the look in their eyes, the look that said they would rather burn the universe down than accept defeat. The galaxy is about to learn a lesson, General said quietly. The same lesson the same lesson I learned. They are about to discover that there is no enemy more dangerous than a human with nothing left to lose and everything to avenge. Outside his window, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, human ships were moving through the darkness, carrying crews who had memorized 3 names and would not rest until justice was done. General had done everything he could. He had told his story. He had given his warning. Now he could only watch as the galaxy learned the truth about humanity. They were small, they were soft, they were young among the stars. And they were absolutely, terrifyingly, unstoppably human. The end.